Hello everyone, and welcome to the SSG podcast where we talk gaming news and discussion. I'm your host Chris, and I'm running solo tonight. Because honestly, let's be real for a second here, guys. There's actually a really bad storm going on out there, Hurricane Florence at the time of this recording, and our fellow co-host Mitch is unfortunately been in the path of this terrible storm, and ironically, about an hour ago, when I sent him a message asking if he think he'd be able to record tonight, and he told me, he's like, "Dude, 7 minutes ago I just lost power." So I thought that was ironic, but that is also sad. If any of us, any of you guys know what it's like to lose power and to not have any of your electronics around, we know how bad, how terrible it is. But not to make light of such a situation, there's some very bad storms going on up there, and I just want to let everyone who's in North Carolina, in South Carolina, anyone who's listening to the podcast, anyone who's affected, has friends or family that are affected by this storm, you're in our thoughts and prayers. And if there's anything that we can do to help, then by all means, we would love to be able to pitch in and do what we can. But as I said, though, tonight we're running solo, so I thought I would do an episode to get it out to you guys, just to get something that would be, entertaining for the meantime, just something to kind of whet your appetite until we get a full blown episode out next week. So with that being said, I want to apologize also for the if you can hear, there's probably more noise in my room. Just a couple of days ago, the compressor, had a brain fart there for a second. The compressor in the AC unit in the house, or in the I rent a room out of a house, and the compressor just decided to kick the bucket on the AC unit, so I had to go buy me another fan. And so it's super loud in my room. Can't hear a dang bit of anything. And I hope you guys, though, can hear me quite clearly, especially with some of the editing stuff I do. But so I had to give myself another fan. I've got the window in my room open. It is very steamy, very humid in my room, and there's not too much I can really do. And in fact, I'm hoping to actually get this recorded out quickly, because I'm afraid of what my computer might do. In fact, I've got just about every single one of my electronics unplugged and turned off, because I don't want my room to get too hot. In fact, when I walked into the house today, the thermostat said it was 86 degrees. And it's going to cool down, especially in the next couple of hours. It'll really cool down in the room with all the fans I've got going. I also have a ceiling fan going as well. I have 3 freaking fans going in this room. But the fact of the matter is that it is what it is. Show must go on. I wanted to get you, like I said, I wanted to get you guys something. I didn't want to cancel this week because, just to let you guys know, the first week in October, I don't know if there will be a show. I actually have a wedding to go to, so we will have to see what happens, if I can convince Mitch to do a solo show for himself. But we might as well just call these like SSG quickies or something like that. I'm hoping this doesn't run a full episode, because I'm just one person talking, and how much can one person really drive a conversation, right? But regardless, so we have a few things to discuss on the topic of games. We had a Nintendo Direct that occurred yesterday, which I completely missed because I was going and seeing the Broadway musical Aladdin with my girlfriend and her sister. It was fantastic. If you ever get the opportunity to go see a Broadway-style musical, I would recommend it. And I did catch up on some of the stuff, so we have a few things on that to go over and to address. I think which would be a fun thing to go into. We did say last week that we would have a full review of Spider-Man, so to speak, but because of the situation with Mitch and his power, we're going to have to postpone that until next week. In fact, he told me that while the power was out, he was going to write a review on it and collect his thoughts and all that kind of stuff. So, regardless, that's fantastic. And, like I said, we wanted to get that to you guys this week, and we're super sorry about that. And so we hope you guys can be patient for one more week to hear what Mitch has to say about the game. I can assure you, it's positive. It's very positive. And what else has occurred? Outside of that, obviously we have our little section of games that have come out, new releases and such. We get to kind of talk over that a little bit. We've had some big titles come out. And then also, I wanted to bring up just a little bit, have a little topic, a little article from Variety that I'm going to touch base on, referring to a study that occurred. As we know, studies for the most part can be hit or miss, depending on the selection of people that they were. I guess say selection. The number of people, studies can be very small and can be very inaccurate as far as the results go. And then we will finish up and wrap up with our discussion question, which is your least favorite superhero game and which is your most favorite superhero game. And I can already guarantee what most people are going to say right off the bat. You know what it is. In fact, my group, the group of people group of people that I'm friends with. Aren't you generally friends with people? My friends, most of which are actually from North Carolina. Go figure. A lot of them, one's from Arkansas, but we don't really talk about it. But regardless, they all chimed in on the question. Mitch has his, I've got mine, and this is going to be this is going to be kind of a fun thing. So let's go ahead and move on to our first topic, which was that the September 2018 Nintendo Direct. As you guys know, this was supposed to come out last week, and I just got spooked by a GameSpot ad. Terrible of you, GameSpot. How dare you have things load up after the fact when I click onto the link. So yeah, the Nintendo Direct came out came out yesterday, which was delayed because of the typhoon and the earthquake that occurred in Japan. Which I don't blame them in the least bit for doing such a thing. But there was a lot of really cool information that came out. Some stuff that it kind of hints at, because I think we've all kind of been questioning, like, what is the full power of the Nintendo Switch? What can it do? How well can it play AAA titles, so to speak? So that being said, there's on this GameSpot article, it actually has some. So they tried to load the same thing again on me. What the heck are you guys doing? So it's got a couple of things. I'm going to do a little bit of a rundown. Some of the stuff I don't know. I still haven't fully checked it out. I know that there's a lot of good stuff that was announced. In fact, I might as well just go to the Nintendo Switch subreddit, which is becoming one of my favorite places to actually get news on Nintendo Switch stuff. Let's see. Let's reload this here. But we're going to start off with saying that an Animal Crossing game is finally happening, coming to the Switch. Once again, I know nothing about it. I know no details, no information regarding it. We're just going to get in 2019, and man, I'm excited for it because I am a massive fan of Animal Crossing. I'm a massive fan of any kind of game that's like, it's a very casual kind of gameplay. It's very fun. I guess it's just lighthearted. There's not a lot of pressure. You play at your own leisure, I guess you could say. I think it's going to be awesome. I'm looking forward to it. Probably the one game I'm looking forward to the most out of the entire list, to be honest with you, because I didn't play the 3DS version, 3DS Animal Crossing, nearly as much because I love the 3DS, but I just had problems with it because of my hands and the controls, and after a little while, my hands would start kind of they'd get a little bit cramped. So I'm excited to be able to finally play Animal Crossing on my Switch. We've been talking a lot of Switch news here recently, and it just feels like that it's just kind of crazy here, right? So much stuff is happening, so much stuff is coming out. Unexpected things are being announced now, which is fantastic. So here's an interesting thing. This is a bullet point list of the on this GameSpot article. Assassin's Creed Odyssey is coming to Switch in Japan as a streaming game. Oh, that'll be something interesting to look forward to in the future. They may be testing out a streaming service similar to what I discussed earlier on in the several episodes back now, where they maybe companies such as EA or whatnot, they have the technology, or Sony or whomever, they have the technology and they just stream to your device, so your device doesn't have to handle too much of the GPU, the graphics, or a lot of the hard to render stuff, but you just through your internet you're able to handle all that, to play all that. So be curious to see where that actually goes. If that's the case, that'd be really cool. Luigi's Mansion 3 is announced for Nintendo Switch. We'll have a 2019 release. I mean, you kind of knew it was going to happen, right? When they had their Nintendo Direct that showed off more Smash Brothers, and it literally showed Luigi getting smashed and dying and everything, and everyone freaked out over that. That was fun times. You guys remember that? Yeah, it's good times. I just think that I think that right there was kind of a tongue-in-cheek kind of, hey guys, we're going to give Luigi a little more attention. Luigi's Mansion. I can't even say the word. Luigi's Mansion games are fantastic. One of the best original titles that Nintendo has come out with. It's a shame that we're just now getting the third one. I wish we could get more spin-offs and such of the game, but it's a fantastic change of pace to the actual Mario formula, and it's a cool little puzzle game. Is it a puzzle game? Are they puzzle games? I don't know. I'm probably wrong about that. It's been like, I only ever played Luigi's Mansion 1, and that was back around the time the GameCube launched, so just think back to how long that was. 2001. So, next on the list is that they gave more information on the Switch Online service details. I've been seeing some worrying aspects that the cloud save function will. There was a little bit of misleading information on the Nintendo Switch subreddit that stated that the cloud saving function would end up once you canceled your service, or if you no longer had their online service, then they would delete your cloud saves. That's still sort of true. After an undetermined amount of time, apparently, is when they will actually go away or be deleted. That may be how with most other games are. I'm okay with that. I mean, come on, with the service as cheap as it is, $20 a year, you should be able to keep it up. If you can't keep it up, then you had no business, purchasing it. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. As far as though other information, I don't think this Switch stuff is like this online service stuff is going to be that good. I'm really not. I mean, I'm going to try it. I'm going to give it a shot, but I don't think it's going to be that good. They keep trying to push this whole thing of, you can talk to people via their app, and for whatever reason, Nintendo thinks that this is a new and improved way of communicating with your friends and family over the internet. When this feels so archaic, this feels really, really old. And I mean, in all honesty, I remember playing with some friends, some Mario Kart 8 on the Switch with some friends, and instead of doing any kind of using the Switch app, which is terrible, we actually just said, screw it, we're just going to get on Discord and talk through that way. And it's the same method of having to talk. I had to plug my headphone with my microphone, all that, into my phone and do that, but it just still feels like it's a little more reliable than going through Nintendo's app. I don't know why they don't implement. I really don't know why they don't implement voice chat features into their systems. Makes sense to me. But they just seem to be so slow and so behind on that, whereas, I mean, back in the day, original Xbox, I remember playing Xbox Live, Mech Assault. Anyone remember Mech Assault? And I was talking up with people back then, It's taking way too long for Nintendo to catch up on this, and I think this is what's really going to hurt them. And kind of going back to the conversation we had before, as far as hardcore gaming console goes, that's really going to hurt them in the form of getting your Maddens over, getting your Call of Duties over, your Battlefields, these titles that, they come around each year, because there's no real way of actually talking. So the other thing that they're really pushing is that, this is according to another GameStop article, Nintendo Switch Online subscription grants you access to a library of classic NES games. Nintendo says this lineup will be expanded with new titles on a regular basis, but at launch it will feature 20 classic games, each of which features some form of added online play. The company revealed the first half of the launch lineup back in May, and now we know the full list of games that will be available day one. Soccer, tennis, Donkey Kong, Mario Brothers, Super Mario Brothers. Yes, there was a Mario Brothers before Super Mario Brothers. Balloon Fight, Ice Climber, Dr. Mario, The Legend of Zelda, Super Mario Brothers 3, Double Dragon, River City Ransom, Ghosts and Goblins, one of the hardest games I've ever played, Tecmo Bowl, one of the more fun games I've ever played, Pick the Raiders, Get Bo Jackson. Run circles around everyone. Gradius, Pro Wrestling, Excite Bike, Yoshi. I don't ever remember that being a NES title. Ice Hockey, and Baseball, which was actually one of my parents' favorite games to play on the original NES back in the day. Go figure. I actually probably have a copy of it laying around somewhere. Yeah. It says, in addition to those games, Nintendo will introduce more titles to the library each month. In October, Solomon's Key, NES Open, and Super Dodgeball will be added. November will bring Metroid, Mighty Bomb Jack, and Twin B. And December's batch includes Wario's Woods, tongue twisters, Ninja Gaiden, Ninja Gaiden, and Adventures of Lolo. You can find more details about the NES library on Nintendo's website. Now, look, I'm all for, bringing back these games and all that kind of stuff. But I guess they want to try something different than just a straight-up virtual console. I don't know. I just, at this point, I'm only paying $20 a month for these old-school games. So it says here that Switch Online subscribers will also receive other benefits such as cloud saves. This won't work with all titles. The upcoming Pokemon RPGs, Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee are among the games that will support the feature, but it will be available for most Switch titles. Subscribers will also receive special offers on the eShop, although Nintendo says it will share more details about that in the future. So, yeah, you get a free 7-day trial for when this launches. I don't think they have the date as far as to when this actually launches in the article. September 18th in the US and September 19th in Europe and Japan. So I would recommend everyone get up on that free 7-day trial, check it out, see if it's something that you'd want to keep paying for. Regardless, it's $20 a year. It's not that much, and for the fact that it's that price, they're going to have a ever increasing library of NES games. I mean, take it for what you think. I mean, I think it does expand upon your library a little bit, especially if you're kind of like me and you're like, I can only really buy one game between now and the end of the year. So, what will that game be? Probably Super Smash Brothers. I want to get other games for the Switch: City Skylines, Civ 6, Diablo 3, but it just probably won't happen. I still want Doom 2016. Holy crap! But it just probably won't happen unless they go on sale. Go on some kind of extreme sale. So, with this, it kind of expands the amount of games you can play for a little bit. But at the same time, I'm on the fence, right? I could easily be swayed one way or another as far as this being a good value or bad value. So you're able to play games online, you get some cloud save functionality, and you get starting out 20 NES games at launch of this service. I don't know, guys. Tell me what you think. I don't think it's really that worth it, but I kind of like it at the same time. Whatever. Moving on. So the other thing, Katamari Damacy Remastered is coming to the Switch in 2018. Woot woot. I love this game. I did not play it nearly as much as I wish I should have, but the randomness, the just absurdity of this game is fantastic. Mario Tennis Aces adds Shy Guy and Birdo along with co-op modes. Fantastic. That's another one of those games on the list that I really want to get. This is the only tennis game I've ever really cared to play, and I would totally love. I want them to bring back the Mario Soccer game, honestly. They bring that back, and I'll be a happy person. Civilization 6 was confirmed. I think that comes out November 6th. Let me verify this. November 16th, excuse me. Which is, yeah, like I said, it's another game I really would love to get. What else we got here? New Super Mario Brothers U Deluxe coming to Nintendo Switch in 2018. So, essentially it was the Wii U version of Super Mario, the new Super Mario Bros. They're bringing that, and as far as I know, that they're adding in. There was a Luigi DLC of some sort that they're also adding into that, and maybe they'll add in some other little bits and pieces. But you know what Nintendo likes to do nowadays? It's all about that nostalgia. Like how we got Wind Waker HD on the Wii U, kind of a thing. They're going to find a way to bring back another, some other titles or something like that, and make it, make you spend another $40 on it because you're like, I want that on the Switch. Final Fantasy XII: The Zodiac Age coming to Nintendo Switch and Xbox One, and not just beyond that, but I from what I saw, we're getting a trilogy of sorts of Final Fantasy games. We're getting Final Fantasy VII, we're getting Final Fantasy IX, Final Fantasy X, and X-2. All of which are fantastic games in their own right. Everyone wants to say 7 is the best game. Guys, it's 6. 6 is the best game. 6 is the best game. I like the old Super Nintendo style RPG aspect of things. 16-bit is good. Final Fantasy VII is okay, but it looks like crap. Looks worse than Minecraft, and it's okay. It's okay. The story, the characters are memorable. Story is pretty good, but you may be honest with you guys. I played Crisis Core on the PSP when I had a PSP, and I love that game more than Final Fantasy VII. I thought that was a fantastic game. Dirge of Cerberus, though, that came out on the PS2, though, no, that's not a good game. I like that it expands the lore. I like games that expand on the lore, but that's not a good game. But it's cool that we're getting a multitude of Final Fantasy games coming to the Switch. And it's interesting that it's actually coming to the Xbox One. I think Final Fantasy XII was the MMO? I'm not sure of that. But yes, that was one of the actual bullet points. The classics of the Final Fantasy series made their debut on the Switch. Waiting for all the other Final Fantasy games to come out on the Switch. Well, that Final Fantasy VI. And then Super Smash Bros. Ultimate reveals another unexpected character, which is Isabelle from the Animal Crossing series. Which, okay. Alright, let's see how that goes. But regardless, that was the majority of the Nintendo Direct, at least to be a GameSpot's article. I may have missed something. If I have, I apologize. But let me know. Let me know if I actually missed something. And maybe I should have actually sat down and watched the Direct. But if you knew how my room felt right now, you'd be like, no, man, I don't blame you. Just go sit in a bath of ice water, man, and just chill out. Whew, it feels terrible still. Alright, moving on to the next thing. Games that have come out recently. Recent releases. Not a ton. There's not been a ton. Wasteland 2 Director's Cut came out on the Switch. So if you were a fan of Wasteland 2, I think that is some kind of like successor to a very old school, like DOS-based, text-based RPG from back in the day. If you like that, go for it. The DLC for Xenoblade Chronicles 2, Torn of the Golden Country came out on the Switch. It's exclusive. Or is it a... Yes, it's an expansion. Yeah, it's expansion to Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I heard very good things about Xenoblade Chronicles 2. It's technically one of the games I wanted to play, but I'll be honest with you, the character, one of the lead females, I don't get the developer sometimes. Why do you gotta make her chest that big? It's distracting almost. Let's just not even. Just get that nonsense out of here. I like my anime characters, equally proportioned. Thank you very much. Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Ooh. It finally came out on September 14th, which is actually the day that I'm recording this. So far, it came out on PS4, Xbox One, and PC. So far, the scores are pretty good. The lowest actually being on PS4, which has a 78 on Metacritic, 83 on Xbox One, and 81 on PC. So, continuation of the rebooted Tomb Raider series, which has been so far, pretty well received by everyone. Also, it came out with the Nintendo Labo vehicle kit. I am sad that there's a genre of video games called cardboardware. Okay? I'm just going to say that. That is... I mean, I understand, like, back in the day, when you were a kid, you'd take cardboard boxes and stuff, and that would be, like, your little hideouts and stuff. Maybe you kind of play around with them kind of a thing. But now Nintendo's trying to make a profit off of this stuff. No, thank you. NHL 19 came out on the PS4 and Xbox One, respectively, with both of which have an 84 currently. It's hockey. I don't play hockey. I try to pay attention to hockey. I really don't have a hockey team to pull for. I guess it's the product of me being raised in the South, right? I don't have much of a care for hockey. I have been to one hockey game, though. It was a minor league hockey team out here in Atlanta, and it was a fun time. It was a fun experience. I was impressed with how brutal those guys are and how often they just go at each other, kind of a thing. It was a pretty fun experience. I feel like if I went to more, then I would warm up to the fact. If I started to learn some of the players and all that, I could probably get a little more into it. But until then, football and baseball are my number 1 and 2, and it's a very high. Like, it's a very, like, my number. Like, even if I were to say I have a number 3, I still don't even know what my number 3 sport would be. I'm assuming it would probably be maybe soccer right now because of Atlanta United. Major League Soccer. A little bit of basketball, just because a good chunk of my friends are into basketball, and I get to see them talk about it and stuff like that. So I'm kind of, just by association, I kind of see what's going on. I pay a little bit of attention to it. So, maybe. But for the most part, I don't really care. But, if you like hockey, I guess it's one of the premier hockey games. Doesn't 2K still do a hockey game? I can't remember. I think they do. And then a action-adventure game on PS4 and PC called Black Clover Quartet Nights. No idea what that is, but that came out. If you're looking forward to it, kind of a thing. Which, by the way, I just want to give an update on Spider-Man. It has a rating of 87 on Metacritic, which is not the end-all be-all. So take that which you will. So now, I'm trying to think, what was the other, that... Right, so I'm going to move on to the second to last little bit that we're going to talk here. There's a cool article. I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but I will post this down in the description. Variety came out with an article that says nearly 70% of Americans play video games, mostly on smartphones, according to a study. This was an interesting read. I don't trust the results so much, but I can believe it because right now, I mean, I've got a PS4, I've got a Switch, technically I've got a PC, but I don't play games on this thing so much anymore. I guess I got a ton of consoles, but yet I find myself more engrossed in particular mobile games. So right now I'm really big into Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle, and I've discovered the pitfalls of that game. Just as soon as I start getting bored with it, they, release the developers release more content, and I'm like, okay, we can go back in this for a little bit more. So that's currently what I'm obsessed with. I also just watch a bunch of YouTube. I don't have the money to get a bunch of games, and a lot of these games on it's the main reason why I played Warframe so much. Well, I'm looking forward to it when it comes out on the Switch, which is coming out in November. I don't remember the exact date. I do not remember the exact date, but I know it's coming out in November. But I remember when I discovered what Warframe was. I was like, oh, this is free to play. This is awesome. And yeah, I threw some money in it here and there, but it's a little bit of a different scenario. I feel like personally, when a game is free to play, you feel the desire to spend money on it a little bit more than if you were to just buy a $60 game and it actually have content that you have to purchase, whether it be DLC or not. Because these games, Warframe, even the Dokkan Battle, they give you free content. They whether it's once a month, they span this whole thing out to where the hardcore players, those who are in it every single day, they may get burnt out. Your whales. But there's enough content there for casual players to jump in, and it's like, I'll play an hour or two a night or something like that. It's no big deal, and it's perfectly fine, and it's it's easy to jump into. But there's also a certain level of difficulty. There's depth to it. So yeah, I don't blame people at all for playing on their smartphones. Mobile games can provide a lot of entertainment, and I know a lot of us used to view mobile games as just like, it's just a 30-minute time waste, 30-minute time sink. There are some actually really good, in-depth RPG, story-driven games on mobile. You kind of have to go looking for them. I know Square Enix has actually released some of their Final Fantasy games on mobile. I don't think they're worth anyone's time, but yeah, there's stuff out there for everyone on mobile, which is incredible. This little phone, this device that we have that's connected to us, on a daily basis, has just literally a little bit of everything for our entertainment needs, and for ways of making us lose productivity. So, while I do look at this excuse me, I do look at this, study with some skepticism, because I don't really trust most studies because of how broad or narrow they may be. I still think it's a pretty good read, and a pretty good. It's a very short, very very short article, but I still think it's kind of interesting to read all the numbers and to see what they come up with. And finally, we're going to jump into the section that will be interesting. But we had a question. It may or may not be interesting. I don't know. It depends on how you think of it. We had a question at the end of the episode last week where we said, or pretty much where we asked, I asked, because it's me, what is your least favorite and most favorite superhero game? And so we got a few people from, I'm going to call them Murder's Row. Some people call it a cult. The cult of Snyder, Zack Snyder, for those of you who don't know. It's a very small cult, but it's not that much different than like Scientology. So I asked them, hey guys, what do you guys think here? What is your favorite superhero game, least favorite superhero game? And I got a couple of people who answered some stuff here. Ryan, I was thinking of giving out their last name. Yeah, I'll give out their last names. Who cares? You guys can have fun stalking them. Ryan Wall actually came out and stated that Arkham Asylum is his favorite. Arkham City is his favorite. And Superman 64 is his least favorite. He says that should be obvious, kind of a thing. Like, which is which. And, I mean, totally. Everyone loves Superman 64. It's the best game of all time. 10 out of 10. No questions asked. Let's see. In all honesty, I don't blame anyone in their least bit for saying Arkham City, because that up until that point we had very few indications of what was a good not just superhero game, because there's been a few good superhero games, I think, but a good Batman game. Think of all the Batman games that have come out since the original Batman, since the 1989 Batman film. There was an NES game that came out that was based off a movie. What else is that? There's really no other Batman game. Maybe the Adventures of Batman and Robin game that came out on Super Nintendo. That's okay. But there was no game that really captured the feel of Batman, and Rocksteady delivered that with Arkham Asylum, and then they opened up the city in Arkham City, and I feel like Arkham City is equivalent to the Dark Knight as far as like video games to movies. Dark Knight, in my opinion, is one of the greatest Batman films of all time, one of the greatest superhero films of all time. Arkham City, in my opinion, that would be my personal choice as far as favorite superhero game. With number 2 going to maybe Marvel vs. Capcom, Marvel vs. Capcom 1 and 2, and then also what was that game? Marvel Ultimate Alliance. All three of those wonderful games. But I feel like though with Arkham Knight, personally, this is just me, it's akin to The Dark Knight Rises. It's still a great movie, but compared to the last game or the last movie, it's not as good. I think they relied too much on tank missions in Arkham Knight. I'm not saying it's a bad game in the least bit. It's a fantastic game. I just don't think it's as good as Arkham City. I don't think it added that much more to the gameplay outside of having an excellent villain. I like the villain. Which I'm not going to say because I'm not going to spoil it. You better go play the freaking game. With Superman 64 being the worst one, I can understand that as well. That is pretty much like missing the mark as far as superhero games go. There was a Batman game on GameCube that was very, very terrible. Batman Forever, I think that was on Super NES, or it might have been like Sega CD or something. That was very terrible. Trying to think what else is really out there as far as games go. There's a couple Spider-Man games that weren't that good. PS1 Spider-Man game was good. Spider-Man 2 was a good game, but everything else I just don't. I'm not too fond of most of the Spider-Man games. There was an X-Men game that came out that allowed you to create your own mutant and stuff like that. That was a pretty terrible game. Just straight up bad. So, there's a lot of bad games out there, in my opinion. But I think Superman 64 tops them all as being the worst of the worst. Strictly from the standpoint of that is, what are you doing? That is not Superman. That is not super. If you've never played it, I recommend you go and try to maybe track it down. I actually own a copy of it. I'm not going to give it to you though. It's one of those games that's like so bad that you just have to be like, look, check this crap out. You go look at your friends and you're like, I got the worst game ever, and you put that in and they're just like, what? I don't understand what's going on. I gotta fly through these rings. I gotta do these little mini game type stuff, but I'm Superman. What? So, yeah, it's a terrible game. I've never beaten it. I don't ever care to try to beat it. It is probably the worst of the worst game altogether. Our buddy Josh Mesker? You have to tell me how to pronounce your name. He said Batman Arkham Knight was his favorite game. And it's his favorite superhero game. And I don't in the least bit like throw that out at all. I still think it's a superb game. It's just, you compare it to Arkham City though, in my opinion, and it just, it doesn't capture the mark as well. And also I want to throw out Arkham Origins. I think that's a severely underrated game. It's like the Fallout New Vegas type scenario. Is it as good as is New Vegas as good as Fallout 3? Some people think it is. Some people think it isn't. Arkham Origins, I think it's a fantastic... I think the story, the premise, everything about the game is pretty good. I think Origins is a good game. His least favorite game, though, is Spider-Man 2 for Game Boy. He states it was dreadful. Never played it, but honestly, any kind of superhero game, most games in general that were not platformers of some sort on Game Boy, or if it wasn't like an RPG, like a Final Fantasy style RPG, then it was pretty bad. He also gives an honorable mention from the 90s for a favorite, Captain America and the Avengers Arcade Edition. I have played that game. I do agree. It's quite epic. Almost anything that's considered to be an arcade game where you can play co-op with a bunch of friends and stuff. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time, wonderful game. Fantastic game. The Simpsons, wonderful game. Any kind of arcade classics, fantastic stuff. Ryan asked a question, does Marvel vs. Capcom 2 count? Yes, it does. That will always count as a superhero game in my book, because the game is full of a lot of superheroes, supervillains, and just heroes in general from Street Fighter. So yeah, I would count that entirely. X-Men arcade game, again from Josh. That was fantastic. Like I said, I'll say it again. If it was an arcade game, if it had 4 or more joysticks attached to it, and you and your buddies could go up there and just play, throwing quarters in, just going crazy, and throwing all those quarters in, running back to mom. Oh, I need another $1, and you're trying to get those quarters. You can run back so the countdown, the continue countdown doesn't end, so you can continue playing the game. Yeah, those were the days. It sucked though, but they were also awesome. A few more from Ryan as well. Marvel Ultimate Alliance. Ultimate Alliance and Ultimate Alliance 2 are two of the greatest hack and slash dungeon games ever. I love the story because it just pulls everyone in from the Marvel universe. I think it's some of my, like I told you guys, it's one of my favorites. Both those games, they're definite favorites, hands down. Played them a lot back in. I think the first one came out after I graduated from high school, but regardless, it was just I love playing it with my friends. It's a slow burn though. I'll give you that though. As far as the criticism goes for it, it's a slow burn of a game. I don't mind it, but it just starts out slow. But then once I get like my favorite character, Blade, everything just feels awesome. So, Super Mario World. According to Ryan, dude has a cape. Super is in the name. Don't fight me. I will fight you all up and down the road because he's not a superhero, Ryan. He kicks Yoshi off the side of the map in order to gain an advantage. That's not super to me. More like bad guy Mario. Yeah. Whatever. And then Joseph Vuk actually came in and said that Spider-Man 2, the one that everyone likes, is probably his favorite. It's probably his favorite superhero game. He said it was so ahead of its time in the open world aspects and smooth Spidey gameplay. Least favorite though, he says he hasn't played a ton, so he can't really say. One would think if you can see all the games that he's played, The Incredibles would be the obvious pick, but he actually enjoyed the game more than he should have. So either it didn't take much for me, or that game was better than it had any business being. So thank you, Joseph, for that, and at least not giving any super negative criticism on superhero games. Giving a positive light to even those that are probably lesser than. I remember X-Men Origins had a game that was a really fun Wolverine game. Like, the combat was the bomb, and it had really good damage models. But beyond that, there wasn't really much to it. And finally, I actually reached out to Mitch, and he actually gave me his favorite superhero games and least favorite. Arkham series is his favorite, and Arkham Asylum is actually his favorite. So here we go. We have 3 different people who have 3 different favorite games in the series. He says the Spider-Man game is actually right up there with that now. But the series he didn't really care too much for was possibly Prototype. If there was anything that could be considered bad. But he really didn't have too many that he didn't really like, and that's honestly the case. Most of the bad superhero games came out in the 90s, and if you've played a superhero game, for the most part in the 2000s and the 2010s, they've not really been that bad. I think even with Iron Man and the Thor game, wasn't there a Thor game? I think there was a Thor game. There's an Incredible Hulk game, one that was actually really good, I think, that people really liked because it's open world and you can just smash things. There's some things to like and a lot to not like in those games, but for the most part, nothing is on par with being as bad as some of those 90s superhero console games. So, with that being said, boom, there you go. That's it. So, before I wrap up, though, this episode, and I understand it's been super quick. I've not spent nearly as much time talking, but it is what it is. You gotta do what you gotta do, especially if you're riding solo. So the question for next week that I'm going to pose is, have you ever had a moment where you needed to save a game? Like, you're like, mom is telling you, like, all right, we gotta go, and you're just like, I just gotta get to this last save point, this last checkpoint. I just got to get to this last moment because you're in like a really tough area of the game or something like that. But you're like, your mom's like, we got to go. We're going to some place or whatnot. Have you ever had a moment of where you're just like, I just need that quick save. I just need that save. Just give me a second. And if you have, what game was it? What were you playing? And did you actually get to that quick save, or did you? Were you forced to not be able to save and restart the level over, or restart from your save point? Because I'll be honest with you, there's a lot of times when I played KOTOR, Knights of the Old Republic 1, and I would forget that you could save the game at any point. And so I would play for so long. My sessions would be a couple hours long, that I'd finally reach a point and I'd end up dying. Which is really hard to die in that game. It's a real simple game. It's not that hard. But I'd end up something would happen and I would die. And then I would see that my save point is 2 hours of gameplay behind. And I'd get so frustrated and I'd just be like, I'm done with it. I'm done for the night. I just can't. So that kind of got me into that was one of the few first games that got me into the habit of, like, if I'm playing an RPG or something like that and I have the ability to save often, I'm going to save every opportunity I get. Because you never know what's going to happen. Something could get, your power could flicker for a second. You could, your console could get the red ring of death. I mean, anything could happen. So just let me know if there's just let us know if there was ever any kind of a quick save blunder, quick save issues, anything pertaining to just trying to save that game. I gotta save it now because I'm having to leave and I gotta get to that spot in a hurry, and then maybe you die and you're like, well, that just ruins everything. So let us know if you have a moment like that, just talking about that type of stuff. And if you want to follow us on our social media accounts, you can. You can look onto Twitter. I think it's at podcast or at SSG_podcast. You can find literally if you find our red logo, you know you're in the right place. You can follow us on Facebook. We are on all sorts of social media platforms. As you can see, Mitch is the one that usually does this. He's better at me than doing this. But we're not just on Spreaker though. We're on iTunes. We're on Google Play. We're on iHeartRadio. We're on Spotify. We're if there's a place you want us to get onto, and you're just like, yeah, I won't listen. I can't listen to you until you're like on this type of podcast thing. Then we can try to do our best to get up on that. But regardless, guys, apologies again for this being such a short episode. Next week we'll try to get back in the swing of things. Hopefully Mitch will have power by then. To everyone who's fighting through Hurricane Florence, or I think it's now Tropical Storm Florence. Just thoughts and prayers with you, and we will see you guys next week, where we will actually give the official Spider-Man review. So until then, guys, take care.